Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Steedman and I am a psychic energy surgeon, a medium, a healer, and I've been working in this spiritual psychic field professionally for over 30 years. I have worked all over the world by Zoom, online, remotely, in person. I have met extraordinary people and heard the most amazing, profound spiritual and psychic stories firsthand. And I also wanted to interview some of these people and hear their stories so that you could also hear them as well. It would be wonderful if you could make a comment beneath this video and also like and subscribe, because then you get all the updates. I've got so much more to come on these channels. Please enjoy this next session. Thank you. I'm very pleased and excited to have this interview with Anthony Brown-Hovelt. Is a tarot reader, numerologist, a palm reader, and lots of other things. I'm going to get Anthony to introduce himself to all those who are watching this. So welcome, Anthony. Thank you for coming on to this little segment we're doing together.
It was a pleasure, Peter.
Introduce yourself, Anthony, to everyone as well.
Yeah. I'm a retired army officer, 20 odd years in the services. I've been out longer now than I was in. Businessman, entrepreneur, and then through ill health I had to give up normal working, and then decided to move into the psychic world, which is something I could do. And as my health improved, I then found through my work that I needed other skills. So I included becoming a meditation instructor, crystal healing, because that's a very good way of helping people at a distance. Because one of the things I discovered about my work was that a lot of people needed healing, and that's why I got involved in Reiki after your advice, actually, Peter.
Right.
So I could do distance healing as well as crystal healing.
Yes.
And so one thing's progressed after another. I started off reading tarot, then I suddenly had a medium experience, which scared the hell out of me because I had no idea how to deal with it. So I got involved with this local spiritualist church who taught me how to be a medium and how to protect myself and how to start to understand spirit, what they were. So a wide variety of experience. Brilliant street in big industries and running my own little businesses as well.
It's been quite an extraordinary journey for you, hasn't it, in terms of how all this began for you? And I think that's always of great interest to people, is how do we get that first insight, that first push that really opens our mind? So tell everyone about what you experienced that you shared with me that was so extraordinary and also saved the lives of some of those men around you at that time.
Well, I joined the army quite young, just 19, did all my officer training, joined my first regiment, and we went straight to Northern Ireland, Londonderry.
Right.
In the mid-70s. And it was a particularly violent time.
Yes.
I had some extremely experienced soldiers, thank goodness, who kept straight and narrow. I'd always been aware of a little voice that told me things: don't do this, don't do that, or give me a warning, or point me in the right direction. And it would always be there. But that tour was the first time that actually spoke to me literally.
And how old were you then, roughly?
19.
Right, okay.
Well, 19, no, I was 20, sorry, 20.
Right.
So there we were, we were sent off, tasked to go and do a particular patrol in a particularly unpleasant area. And everything, all my instincts were this: we shouldn't be there. When I got to the particular alleyway that I was told to go and look at, this voice just said, no, don't go there. And we had a battery dog, and I looked down at Bombadil Muttley, as we called him, and I said, Muttley, do you want to go down there? And he said, nope. He sat down and looked at me as I was mad. And so I told the guys, I got a really bad feeling about this. I don't want to do it. And they looked at me and they said, if you don't want to do it, and the dog doesn't want to do it, we're not going to do it. So we went off and did something else. The next day, the other troop went off to have a look.
Yes.
They found a tripwire attached to 5 mortar bombs. that gone down there. So,
Yeah.
and I had another couple of experiences when in the middle of a gun battle, and I was chasing a terrorist, and we went into a church, and somebody shouted behind me, and I turned to see somebody coming out carrying something in their hands, something with a gun, and this voice said, "Don't shoot." And I didn't, and thank goodness I didn't. It was a priest.
Wow.
But it was absolutely clear as a bell. And all my tours in Ireland, I found I was guided at a critical point in time, or I had out-of-body experiences, so I could see the whole. It was really weird because I could see the whole picture of what was going on in emotion, and then suddenly, wow, come back into my body and carry on. And so,
did you find when all that was going on, because you were having those experiences, which were amazing for you, but were any of your fellow soldiers having any experiences like that, or was it just you that seemed to be having them?
well, no idea, because none of us talked about it. I mean,
Right.
as an officer, I would say I'm, having out-of-body experiences and seeing everything.
Yes.
I'm mad. It was interesting that for 30 years I never went anywhere near the army, and I got invited to the union, and everybody had a bit of a laugh, so what are the lottery numbers? I was putting my name.
Yeah.
And then one of them came up and said, I get it. I was like that. My mother, my grandmother, they're always telling me stuff. And of course, we then got discussing it, and a lot of people have psychic experiences, but they're too frightened to recognize it, or they simply don't have anybody to turn to. And as a child, I got terribly confused, because at times I didn't know whether something was going to happen, had happened, or it wasn't happening. And it was quite bizarre. When I was sort of around about 12, 13, I found with adolescence extremely difficult. Anyway, got over all that, but left the army. I lost it. It was like losing an arm or leg.
Really?
And
was that because, do you think you were in a heightened sense of anticipation, of anxiety or stress, so you were much more awake, much more sensing and noticing every sound, everything? Because we know that you go into generally a heightened sense, don't you, a higher vibration, when you are connecting with spirit and with energy in this way. But it would seem almost that you were in situations where you were automatically in that position, which made you probably aware of that voice in life and death situations. However, you have moved on from that to where you are utilizing it more in a controlled way and bringing it in at times when you need to use it, and use that intuition and insight in relation to someone else's need. Would that be fair?
There's no doubt that when you're on operations or in a dangerous situation, your training and everything else is to make an assumption very quickly on what information you have available and then act on it. So you have to be aware of your environment. And I used to try and explain this to the lads, and most of them just didn't get it. They couldn't pick up the vibes on the street, so I would try and teach them how to pick up the vibes. If there are no children around barracking you, trying to get out of that. Simple things, but people found it very difficult. So, some people got it straight away, others just didn't. And when I left the army, I suppose I wasn't under the same pressure, but I was on other pressures, and I made one mistake after another. It was a huge adjustment, having been really gone from teenager to late 30s in an environment you knew exactly where you were and what you were doing, and then suddenly it was strange. And that was why I started to learn tarot, because my second wife encouraged me to do it. So I got to get back. I got to get in touch with my intuition again. And so I started doing that, and did various courses: tarot, numerology, Rune, so on, palmistry, so on and so forth, birth charts, what have you. And then when I fell ill and I had to give up work, physically stated, I could do it at home. I could sit at a desk. I could remember all the cards perfectly. And so it got me back working. And then one evening, this woman rang me up, and there were two cards that just didn't make any sense to me. I said, "Look, I've got two cards here that's really bothering me. one is of an older man, one is of a child.
Yeah.
I think this may be your father, and no, do you have a son? And she said, yes,
Yeah.
1 year old. And then this huge wave of emotion came through. I
Wow.
was bawling my eyes out,
Were you?
all these sort of weird feelings. And
Yeah.
she said, oh my God, do you know what day it is? I said, no. She said, it's the anniversary of the death of my father. He was killed on the Piper Alpha.
Wow.
I was 1 year old at the time, and he
Yeah.
never really saw me. And
Wow.
here I am, my child's 1 year old now,
Gosh. Yeah.
and her father came through. It was a terribly emotional, because he took me over.
Yes. Yes.
Thank goodness she couldn't see me.
Yeah.
Not tears everywhere. But anyway, so it was the first time he'd been able to come through to his daughter, and
Yes.
it was very cathartic for both of them. And
Yes.
right, I've got to learn how to deal with this. So that I took myself off to Spiritualist Church that weekend, and we had an extremely well-run development circle and
Yes.
open circle, and I learned a huge amount there.
That's so important, isn't it? Was that
Yeah.
structure and teaching, so that even though you're using your gift in the right way to help that person, then you had this extraordinary experience of her father being able to see the opportunity to come through and connect with her, which would be liberating for him, liberating for her, but incredibly powerful for you. It's almost a wake-up call for you in some ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
To say, come on, you know.
But I was already aware of a spirit guide or guardian angel around me, even when I
Right.
started to, because if I did too much, these
Yes.
hands slap. If I tried to shuffle the pack, I could feel these hands stopping me.
Really? Yeah.
You've done enough now. Finish this
Yes.
course and ring off and finish. I mean, to the fact that I couldn't even move my hands. I could
Wow.
feel pressure. And then when we
Yeah.
were talking about guardian angels on one occasion, I kept getting slapped around the back of the head.
Did you really?
Wrong.
They must have loved having to look after you. Let's give them a good slap and.
Yeah, well, literally, I said something, and I immediately knew it was wrong.
Did you?
I mean, it wasn't hard, but
No, you could feel it.
Well, I got that wrong. So I mean, they can be not only hard taskmasters, they can also have a sense of humour as well.
Because I think people also find it quite serious, but actually there is humour, there's lightness in it. It lifts our energy, and it's lifted you. When was the first time you had your awareness that there was something else going on, or you were aware of someone around, a presence around you?
Yeah.
Remember that?
I must have been out 6 or 7.
Right.
Not quite, can't remember exactly, but that sort of age, and just moved into a new house, which is a story in itself. I was away at prep school, and the dog, our collie, who was a wonderful, wonderful animal, great mothering instinct. And because I was the youngest of the family, once the others were grown up, she took over looking after me.
Yes.
And
Right.
and she and my cat were devoted. They did everything together. He was a kitten that we had. One of our cats had. He was ill. He had to be nursed to health. He couldn't. So
Yes.
he never went. And Nikki adopted him. And when she died, he just started pining away. And my mother, I think Paddy may die as well.
Yes.
And we went to bed that night. The landing light was on. It was a dim light. And I woke up. I didn't feel scared or anything, and I could see Nikki, in form, not ghostly, come up the stairs with Paddy next to her. She stopped at the entrance of the bedroom, wagged her tail, sort of gave a sort of smile,
Really?
turned round, went to the top of the stairs, turned round, final sort of farewell,
Yes.
and off they went back downstairs.
Wow.
And I knew she'd just come to say goodbye.
Yes.
And Paddy, the following day, came in for the first time in months, or about a month, and had a meal.
Yes.
It took him about 2 years before he could come in to the house regularly. We had stables and stuff. He was fine, but it took him 2 years to go over Mickey's death.
Yes.
And so and they all knew the house was haunted. It was built for a wealthy man's daughter, and she was loved dogs and gin.
Yes. Really?
Yeah. But the house was not sold for 17 years. This beautiful house, fantastic. Nobody would touch it with a barge pole. My
Extraordinary.
parents came across it, and the estate agent last thought, well, I'll show you this, but nobody wants it. Went up there, fell in love with it, said, we'll take it. And I'm convinced the old girl liked us because we had
Yes.
cats, dogs, and
Yeah.
horses, ducks, and geese, and God knows what else.
Sure.
And she used to come in to the. I didn't see her, but we all noticed there because the animals would walk round her, or she'd pick the cat up and move it off the sofa. She could sit down
Really?
with us and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
aware of her presence. And
Yeah.
thereafter, really, at school, I had an awful experience of seeing a young woman murdered.
Right.
And that scared the living daylights out of me.
Yes.
That spirit stopped showing me things, and I just felt it instead. And because I
Yes.
didn't know how to deal with it, and there wasn't anybody to turn to talk about it,
Sure.
I blanked it. I
Yes.
don't know who you are. Go away and leave me alone.
Exactly.
I found my way of dealing it was to reject it because I didn't know how.
Yes.
And so what I'd say to people, if you have an experience, for goodness sake, ask advice, because people won't laugh at you, especially people like
Exactly.
you and me. We
Yes.
understand it, and we can explain and help you, because a lot
Yes.
of people reject their psychic abilities because they're scared of them, and there's no need to be. It's just
It's good that it's easier to ask now, isn't it? It's a subject which is broached a lot more now. Certainly when you and I probably both first started, got involved, it was something that your best friends and family would worry that you were losing the plot. It was, how do you know who to go to? I think now there's you can always find someone who you could speak to who has some knowledge or guide you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And even for yourself, people can contact you. I'll put links beneath the video where they can contact you in whatever ways appropriate for you. Either might be a telephone number, or might be an email address or something. And also for myself. And I always think that if I can't help, I'm sure I know someone who can. So there's always that potential there. But the thing I think that people often want to ask as well is, I know that from everything that's happened to you, it's made you believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is life after death. So, that's something that brings a huge amount of comfort. But do you feel as well, or how would you say it's helped you in your life? What's been the positive effects for you? Has it helped you with grief and loss? Has it helped you in illness? Has it helped you in times of change?
Yes, I mean, I had sepsis when I was dying, undoubtedly, and as a result of a medical mistake. And I grabbed, the wife came to see me, and one of the periods where I was conscious, I said, "You've got to go and get my Reiki master," who actually worked was a receptionist, and
Okay.
I asked her to come up and help. She came up, she gave me a session. At the end of it, I just felt all the pain lift.
Wow.
It was most extraordinary. I mean, I was on morphine. I was being sick. I was in a terrible state. The painkillers were making me feel dreadful. And she all the pain except where the ulcer was. And then that I could cope with. She came back, gave me another session. And then the organizer of California Psychics lived just in the next town. And she came up with her husband, who was an Indian guru. And he sat down and he said, "I'm just going to sit here, close your eyes." And he gave me this very gentle healing. And during it, I had this very vivid image of an Indian woman, an old woman with her sari and scarf. Never saw her face. And she sat with me on this veranda looking out over a valley and the mountains in the distance and forests and stuff. And then she got up and walked around sprinkling herbs and things on me. And then when he said, "I'm finished," she disappeared.
Yes.
How's that? I said, "Well, I just had this image," and I explained to him. And he said, "That's where I come from. That's where I live in India."
Really?
So that's exactly. And that woman is she doesn't really have a name, but in that part of southern India, she's known as sort of Earth Mother, a healer.
Oh, really?
And she wasn't in the he didn't have a name for her in terms of the pantheon of Hindu or other goddesses. she was something that local people relied on, and they often sprinkle herbs and
Oh,
herbs or petals over
yeah,
to help release energies and so on and so forth.
yeah.
And
Oh,
she
that's so powerful.
very often appeared when I do healing, distance
Yeah,
healing.
yes,
A couple of other guys, and actually your Dr. Khan pops in every now and then if you've got a
I do.
serious
Oh,
sort of,
wonderful.
you
Yeah,
know, surgery type stuff. Um, and it's interesting how they come in and help. So
amazing. Yeah,
just healing, I don't just ask for that shaft of energy to come down on it.
sure.
I can quite often see these my guides
Yes,
actually around the person treating
yes.
themselves. Um,
It's that feeling as well that I sometimes have is you're watching them do the work. You're
yes,
stood back, you facilitated that connection, but
yeah,
then you just watch and observe as
mm,
all these beautiful souls come in and do whatever they need to do.
yeah,
And then they finish, they step back, and it's just amazing.
mm,
I think it's extraordinary. I think these experiences that you've had are really helpful for others to listen to and to understand that when you talk about them as coming from a place of credibility, that there are times that they're very meaningful to you, but
mm,
also it's continued and become part of who you are. And
yeah,
that you can't take that out of you, can you? That's your truth.
mm.
And it's really wonderful to have that. So I think what we'll do now is we'll bring this session to a close. Thank you for sharing everything that you have and sharing your experiences. I will have to get you back on again at some point
Well,
and
of
talk
course.
more.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Peter.
That'd be good. No, thanks, Anthony. We'll speak very soon, okay?
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, press the like button and subscribe. Feel free to leave any comments, any questions, and look forward to more inspirational videos.